Throughout history, human ingenuity has been a double-edged sword. While we've created breathtaking art and life-saving technologies, we've also devised punishments so horrific they make a swift death seem like a kindness. Today, we're journeying back in time to uncover some of the most terrifying methods of execution ever conceived. These aren't just about ending a life. They were designed to inflict maximum pain, humiliation, and psychological terror. So, brace yourselves as we explore the darkest corners of ancient justice. First, let's travel to ancient Greece, to the court of Phalaris, the tyrant of He commissioned a craftsman named Perilos to create a new instrument of execution. What Perilos delivered was a masterpiece of both sculpture and sadism, a life's hullable cast entirely from bronze, complete with a door on its side. This was the brazen bull. The process was sickeningly simple. A condemned person was forced inside the hollow belly of the bull, and the door was latched shut. Then, a fire was lit directly beneath the bronze beast. As the metal heated up, the person inside was essentially roasted alive. But the true diabolical genius of the device was in its acoustic design. A complex system of tubes and stops was built into the bull's head, connecting the interior to the mouth. As the victims screamed in unimaginable agony, their cries were channeled through these tubes, transforming them into a sound that mimicked the bellowing of an enraged bull. The tyrant could sit back and enjoy the music of his new toy, in a grim twist of fate. The story goes that Phalaris was so disgusted by the invention as cruelty that he decided to test it on its creator. Perilos was the first to be shoved inside. He was pulled out just before he died, only to be thrown off a cliff. Eventually, the tyrant Phalaris himself was said to have met his end inside the very same bronze bull after being overthrown. Next, we venture into the Persian Empire, where we find a punishment known as scaphism, or simply, the boats. This method was a slow, agonizing descent into filth and decay, designed to be as psychologically torturous as it was physically painful. The victim was taken to a stagnant swamp or a slow-moving river and placed inside a narrow rowboat. Then, another identical boat was placed on top of them, creating a sort of makeshift coffin that encased their entire body, leaving only their head, hands, and feet exposed to the elements. Once they were trapped, the real nightmare began. The executioners would force-feed the condemned a mixture of milk and honey. This wasn't an act of kindness. It was a deliberate strategy. The rich mixture would quickly induce severe, uncontrollable diarrhea, filling the boat with The executioners would also smear more honey all over the exposed parts of the victim's body, their face, arms, and legs. This sweet, foul-smelling combination created an irresistible lure for every insect in the area. Flies, wasps, and beetles would swarm the victim, feasting on the honey and laying their eggs in the accumulating filth. Day after day, the victim would lie there, baking in the sun, unable to move. The force-feeding continued, prolonging their suffering. The insects wouldn't just stay on the surface. Maggots would hatch and begin to burrow into the victim's flesh, eating them alive from the inside out. Gangrene would set in, and the stench would be unbearable. Death would come slowly, over days or even weeks, from a combination of dehydration, starvation, septic shock, and the relentless consumption by insects. Scaphism was a testament to a truly twisted imagination, turning the body itself into a breeding ground for its own destruction. From the swamps of Persia, we now set sail onto the high seas. Life aboard a ship in the age of sail was tough, and discipline was harsh. For the most severe offenses, like mutiny or repeated desertion, captains sometimes resorted to a terrifying punishment known as kill. This practice was used by several naval powers, most famously the Dutch and the British Royal Navy. The name itself hints at the horror. The keel is the backbone of a ship, running along the very bottom of the hull, from front to back. A sailor sentenced to be keeled was tied to a rope that was looped beneath the ship. He was then thrown overboard from one side of the vessel. The crew on the deck would then pull on the rope, dragging the unfortunate soul down into the water, under the ship's hull, and up on the opposite side. The experience was brutal in several ways. First, there was the immediate risk of drowning. Being submerged and dragged for that length of time was often enough to be fatal. But the real damage came from the hull itself. The bottom of a wooden ship was not smooth. It was covered in sharp, jagged barnacles, splinters, and other marine growth. As the sailor was dragged across this surface, Their skin and flesh would be short. If they survived the first pass, they were often keelhauled again, sometimes a third time. If the initial ordeal didn't kill them, the deep, infected wounds or the resulting blood loss often would. It was a brutal display of a captain's authority, meant to strike fear into the hearts of every sailor on board and ensure that no one else would dare step out of line. Now, we arrive in the heart of the Roman Empire, in the grand spectacle of the Colosseum. Here, public executions were a form of mass entertainment, and one of the most popular methods was damnatio ad, or condemnation to beasts. This was a gruesome fate reserved for the worst criminals, prisoners of war, and followers of outlawed religions. The condemned were essentially served up as a meal for wild animals in front of a roaring crowd of thousands. The organizers of the games would go to great lengths to ensure the show was as bloody as possible. Lions, tigers, bears, leopards, and wild boars were imported from the farthest corners of the empire. Before the event, these animals were starved for days, making them desperate, aggressive, and ravenous. On the day of the execution, the condemned, often unarmed or given a useless wooden sword, were herded into the arena. Then, the gates were opened, and the hungry beasts were released. The crowd would cheer as the animals hunted down and tore the helpless victims apart. Sometimes, the execution was staged as a twisted reenactment of a myth, adding a layer of theatricality to the slaughter. This wasn't just punishment. It was a powerful statement of Roman power. It demonstrated the empire's reach, its ability to capture both exotic animals and foreign enemies, and it reinforced the social order by making a gruesome example of those who defied it. For the victims, it was a terrifying and humiliating end. Their final moments turned into a public blood sport for the amusement of the masses. These punishments, the brazen bull, scaphism, keel hauling, and damnatio ad bestias, reveal a chilling aspect of human history. They were more than just methods of execution. They were calculated acts of terror, designed to inflict the maximum possible suffering while sending a powerful message to society. They reflect the values, fears, and power dynamics of the civilizations that practiced them. While we may find comfort in knowing these specific horrors are a thing of the past, they serve as a dark reminder of the depths of cruelty humans are capable of. It est a sobering thought that challenges us to always strive for a more just and humane world. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the dark side of history. If you found this exploration fascinating, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. Let us know in the comments which of these punishments you found the most shocking. See you next time.